Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fill Your Cup podcast. I hope you're having a great day today. Today, our guest is Hailey Banz.
Hey, guys.
Hailey, give everyone a down low of you.
Okay. Oh, a down low? Okay. Well, my name's Hailey Banz. I'm from OKC, Oklahoma. I'm 20 years old. I have a birthday in October. I'm super excited for fall. Fall is probably my favorite season. That's just a little fun fact, I guess. And Christmas is my favorite holiday, for sure.
Okay.
What else? What's like a down low, I guess?
Okay. Give them like, where are you going to school right now? Favorite? Are you for fall season?
Yes.
Are you a Gilmore Girls watcher, or are you a different fall show?
I like all the fall shows, like all the fall movies.
Okay.
I'm a Gilmore Girls watcher though, for sure. I go to school now at the University of Central Oklahoma. I'm an interpersonal communications major, so this is good practice for me to try to talk to a camera, and Caitlin, of course. And then I would say just like the three words that I use to describe myself the most often are just believer, creator, and friend. So.
Okay, yes, checks out.
Yeah.
It really does. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, something that I do to start off all the podcasts is I ask people where they find joy and fulfillment in life, because it goes so hand in hand with purpose, and that's what we talk about here. Okay. So for you, is there certain things that you've found that like really do bring you joy, or have you found moments that like fulfill your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, like, heading into this season, I have really been trying to be a lot more intentional about doing the things that bring me joy and bring me just that, like, sense of, like, happiness and those kinds of things. And I think that some of those things would just be, like, as nerdy as it sounds, reading and writing. I'm a writer. I love to do that in my free time. Spending time with friends, just, like, reaching out and making that intentionality just very prominent has been something that's been super powerful for me. I think a lot of the times when I like find myself maybe not enjoying life as much as I feel like I should be, it's because I'm not doing, enough of the things that bring me joy, and I'm just doing the things that I kind of, have to do, if that makes any sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yes.
I get that big time. Okay, so I guess to kind of get into it a little bit, would you like to share some of your story, kind of, what we're going to get into a lot of why Hailey is Hailey Banz. So just to kind of like get that kick started, a little bit of your backstory, how you grew up, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up with an amazing family who I love very much, and I've always just kind of been in like the Oklahoma area. I haven't ventured out quite yet, so we'll see what happens after college. But yeah, so I love to travel, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I grew up in OKC, and then just kind of went through like elementary, middle school, high school in OKC as well. And that was a lot of fun. I don't really think that I've had anything like too major that had happened until I would say like 8th grade freshman year, when I got told I was having spinal fusion surgery. I think that was like a pretty big turning point in my life for me. And then probably again right when I entered college too would have been like a pretty big turning point for me too, like just a lot of growth, a lot of life lessons and that kind of thing. So
how was that? What was it for anyone who doesn't know? And that kind of runs in the spinal fusion stuff. Yeah.
So scoliosis is genetic and it's hereditary. So it's just a like spinal condition, I guess, where your spine's supposed to be straight but it's curved. Mine was an S. Some people have C curves. It just kind of depends. But that was what I got dealt. And yeah, so I think that I was in back braces from 3rd grade until I was 14 or 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
A hot minute.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you, what was that like doing like day to day? Like, how did that affect like your mindset?
So when I was from, I would say like 3rd to 7th grade, I wore a brace just at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
So that one wasn't as hard to kind of get used to. I mean, it's literally like this hard, like it's like thick. Like it's not necessarily like just a Velcro kind of like thing you would think of like for maybe a wrist brace. But so I would say just getting used to like only sleeping on your side was kind of how you had to do it, and then figuring out the right like pillow formation to like kind of keep you upright and everything. But pretty much like after the first week, I was just so used to it that it kind of just came naturally. The one that I struggled with a little bit more was the one that was 24 hours a day, which obviously just all day, every day. And wearing it to school was like interesting because, you know, it's like 103 here right now. It's like, it does not matter rain or shine, like 103 or not. I was wearing that thing and it was adding some layers, let me tell you. So it was definitely interesting to navigate. I had to like go to a different bathroom than everybody else. I had to like go to the nurse's bathroom because there wasn't anywhere to put my brace. Like I had to take it off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't even think about that.
Sorry, that's probably a TMI, but every time I had to pee, I had to walk all the way down to the nurse's office and take my brace off and like set it on the counter, and then I'd just walk back to class. So it just kind of took like some getting used to and figuring out with like teachers and staff and all that, and they were so kind, but just like figuring out how to do like the weird things that nobody thinks about, I guess. But yeah.
So when were you told that you were getting surgery? I
was told it would have been the end of my 8th grade year, so probably like April of 2017. Was when they told me. I had obviously been fighting it for a very long time, and the braces are used to kind of fight the curves and all of that sort of thing. But right before that, I had gone through, it's like science, I guess, but you just go through like a rapid period of growth right before you kind of hit that age, and that is when the curves are most prone to like getting kind of out of control, and that is what unfortunately happened. And so that's kind of when they told me, we're sorry, but you're gonna have to have surgery soon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Because I know that, well, obviously I know whenever like Maggie was told, it was a lot on like just like getting through her year, like prepping for that, and then like how she was gonna navigate life after that. So I'm sure that it was like an adjustment. You weren't dancing, so it's a bit different, but still just a big adjustment on your life.
Yes. I was thankful to not be in like any sort of like sport or anything like that in particular at that time, because that really would have, I think, knocked it even further, unfortunately. But yeah, it was definitely just a lot going through my mind of how, you know, especially at like 13, 14, you know, this is going to change the course of your life and your body forever. And so just kind of figuring that all out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So going fast forward a little bit to like high school, what I want to know, even just like me personally, like a little bit of your story, like that experience for you in high school, and like kind of ups and downs, and you know what you've had to persevere through, and kind of what's made you who you are today.
Absolutely. So in high school, I would say that I had a pretty good high school, like just pretty average high school experience. Obviously really just like recovering from that surgery was probably the only time that I either wasn't there or those kinds of things, or carrying a pillow around. You have to do that, which is super weird, but yeah. So I would say that was like a pretty just average high school experience, but at the same time that's like, you know, a pretty prominent time in your life that you're going to start to remember things, and you're going to start to kind of learn and grow through those experiences and everything. Do like a specific, like anything?
I guess maybe even if that's like your transition to college, like just a very kind of going into, because, you know, we'll go into a little bit, because I know our stories are a little bit similar here and there whenever it comes to mental health and writing and all that stuff. So like the things that kind of fueled that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of what fuels my writing and why I write is just simply people. At the end of the day, I just, even though I do like write for myself, I also write in hopes that even though this is my experience, I hope that when I share this, that maybe it makes someone feel less alone, or maybe it makes someone feel loved or seen or cared for, or like in a weird way they have found a friend that has, a similar experience to them. And so I think that's a lot of why I write. And then just kind of some of the struggles that I've been through throughout life. So obviously that spinal fusion surgery and the kind of mental impact that came along with that has been something that I write about a lot. So
yeah, for sure. I guess so you kind of say like people got you into writing, whether that have been like, would you say like all kind of joyful experiences, maybe harder experiences with people or with the environment around you and all that sort of thing?
So I would definitely say it's just like my experience in general, maybe as a better example. I say people in the sense of like, I hope that when I write, people are positively impacted from it. But I would say just I write because of the experiences I've had. Like you were kind of saying, either just experiences I've had with other people or experiences I, even have with myself, things that I'm wrestling with personally, whether that be like mentally or physically, and that kind of thing. So a lot of it is just, based on either experience that I have personally had, or maybe just like something that I've kind of created or thought of or seen someone else go through. So yeah,
because I think it's definitely, I feel like if we're similar in any way, is picking up on the environment around us and like observing people and just kind of understanding like what people go through and stuff like that. So there's a couple other things I also want to get into, but so if anyone hasn't picked up yet, Hailey writes. And I was wondering if you would want to share some of your poems and kind of like a specific, like the specific story behind it and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Let me pull up. I actually am going to pull up, I don't remember how many you said, but I have a couple from my old college, did like a creative magazine. And one of my friends actually had recommended me to like the board that was in charge of it, and they reached out to me, and they were like, hey, they were really needing like more people to kind of submit some creative things for this, would you be willing to submit some sort of writing or something? And I was like, sure, yeah, for sure. So I just kind of went to my my document, copy and pasted, and sent it, and didn't really think about it. And so it was just really exciting to get to see, a couple months later, I want to say like April or May timeframe when the magazine came out. It was just so cool to see my writing like in something that was like physical. So yeah. I'm going to just read the ones from that if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is, what is the nicest thing someone has done for me? And this was actually a writing prompt from a social media creator. Okay. That actually, it's also in a YouTube video now. Her name is Berkeley Rowland. She's awesome. I don't know if she'll ever see this, but this was what this was inspired off of. So shout out to Berkeley. Okay, so what is the nicest thing that someone has done for me? This question haunted me because I knew it would unfortunately be the opposite of what everyone expects. Everyone expects this answer to be a friend who brought them flowers or held them when they cried, a significant other who proposed, or maybe a parent that went above and beyond for them when they had nowhere else to go. My answer, it's none of those things. In fact, it seems wrong to even write this, but nevertheless, consider this a love letter to anyone who has ever left. For a little or a while, depending on the person, I suppose, you were a part of me. Maybe you even did some of the nice things that people usually think of when asked this question. Consider it cynical or negative or twisted, because perhaps it is. You were a part of me, and eventually I came to think that you were me. No separation, 2 bodies, 1 mind, but one day you decided I wasn't worth loving anymore. At first I was shattered, merely a ghost of who I used to be. The happy person everyone likes to see took a vacation until further notice. I thought our minds were one, so if you thought I wasn't worth loving, then it must be true. But one day I woke up and decided that even if you didn't think I was worth it, that someone had to, and it might as well be me. I may have crawled and gripped and clawed my way back again, but I'm here. And it seems that I no longer need your love or your niceness or acceptance anymore. Because there was a day that I decided that life is life, but that I have to be the one to decide that it's worth living for. All that to say, I want to say thank you to anyone who has ever left me. It's the nicest thing anyone has ever done. It doesn't warm my heart, but it taught me things that love never could. I have to decide that I am worth loving. So that was a long one. That's like one of the longest ones I've probably ever written. That one is just really based off of kind of an internal struggle, if you will, as most things in my life are, of just really being tired of myself in a sense, and being tired of seeing myself and kind of watching myself, from above, essentially, just constantly be relying on others for validation, for love, for joy, for happiness, insert kind of whatever, word in there. But I was just kind of tired of seeing myself, constantly set myself up for failure, in a sense, because I was putting so much worth, and this is something I'm going to struggle with, till the day that I pass away. But, I was tired of seeing myself put so much worth in, the value that other people saw in me.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I can't match that value. I can't look to other people and be like, okay, well, how much does this person value me? How much does this person love me? Okay, that's going to be, kind of my gauge for myself. And that's, that's that and that kind of thing. So I think this one was kind of was healing for me to write, in a sense, just because I, at some point, just had to realize that, some people are unfortunately not forever. Not in the sense that they pass away, but, just in the sense that, they're not going to always be in your life. And kind of learning to understand that even if people walk away, that doesn't mean that you lose a part of yourself. Mm-hmm. I think that for me was just such a hard lesson to learn. Because I used to just put so much value and so much, everything into certain people that when they did walk away, it was like I was just kind of, like I said, like a shell of who I used to be, kind of. And now I feel like I just deal with that in just a much better way, in the sense that, it's going to be okay. And, you still have the same value no matter what happens. And, I saw something the other day that was like, if God loves you, then you ought to love yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that was just kind of, those were all just kind of themes and inspiration from this particular one, because, I need to realize that, the person who the love never changes is going to be from God. And you know what? If he loves me and he sees value in that, and creator of the universe, so thinks that I'm awesome, and so I need to start thinking that way too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's definitely coming from someone who's definitely a people pleaser, and even I'll talk to Angel about this. We love Angela.
We have the same therapist, guys.
Okay. And it's the highlight of our relationship, I think.
Yes. We didn't know that for a long time, by the way. We just figured it out one day.
Angela's our hype woman. if she watches this.
She does?
I don't know, but I'll tell her to.
Hi, Angela. I love her so much. She's awesome.
But as someone who's a people pleaser, it's really, like, I find myself wanting to give and give to everyone around me. And if I find someone who gives back, I take it. And I'm like, okay, like, this, oh my gosh, like, they're making me feel so good. And the second something doesn't feel good, it's, like, scary, you know? And whenever I've had people in many different areas of my life, whether that be, like, a relationship, a friendship, or even, like, some, like, in family even sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
For whatever someone's situation might be, it's really hard to find someone that you feel like you just give your all to, and you see them walk away whenever they know you, like, what seems to be the deepest parts of you.
Yeah. You have to, I mean, it's like, what did you just say? Because, I mean, that was so good. Repeat yourself.
Like, now I'm not going to remember
either.
But whenever you feel like you give your all to someone and you feel like they get to know, like, every part of your being, and then they take that with them. And that's like it's like a punch in the gut.
It hurts very badly, but this is why I'm crossing my fingers, is that's how I remember things, is you're like, you know, when you give your all to them and they leave, this was me realizing you have to give your all to yourself. And that is super hard, and it's not in a selfish way. It's just that you have to you know, you're going to be with you your whole life.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but you are. And so it's like, it's just kind of that coming over the curve of realizing, like, you have to give your all to yourself, and it's okay to also give it to other people. But, you know, at the end of the day,
you can't rely on them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, remembering that, you know, you can't rely on that to be your number one source of, you know, happiness and joy and validation. You know, I have to wake up in the mornings and just sometimes just be like, you are awesome, you are wonderful, you are a child of God, you know, like, repeat, you know, you're a child of God, you know, you're joyful, you're, you know, go down the list, because sometimes there's not going to be anyone there to do that for you. And it hurts, and it's
the
hard
truth.
But I have just kind of come to learn that, you know, you're going to be in that journey with yourself your whole life, and you're going to be in that journey with God your whole life. And you just kind of, sometimes you have to do it yourself, as hard as it is. And I pray that no one on the other side of the screen has experienced that and has had to, you know, be there for yourself, essentially. But, you know, that's kind of what this poem is about, basically. It's just having to be there for yourself, and realizing that, you know, it's gonna be okay, even when people leave.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
Do you want me to read another one?
Yeah,
Or,
sure.
okay,
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay. So this one's called A Reminder to Those Who Feel Alone. You haven't met all the people who will love you yet. Those words rang in my ears for so long. Surely there weren't more. I had already timed out on that request. I had met everyone. But as I continue on this journey, I have come to see just how wrong I was. I continue to see that my soul has never felt so seen. Never has my mind been more understood. Never have I felt more loved. You haven't met everyone that will love you. You haven't. And you never will. There will always be another and another, even if it doesn't feel like it. Never have I come home at the end of the day and felt so alive, so overjoyed, so thankful. May I always remind myself of this when it feels my world is dark and there is no path to light. Oh,
I love that one.
That one hurt me today.
Okay. Whenever you put these poems out, it was the day after a breakup. And so I was reading these and I was like, these were like, this is why these ones are like probably some of my favorites, because
it just hits
it just hits you in another way. And there's so many moments. Oh, that one's just so good. I love that one.
Thank you.
But it really is so true. Like, there really has been so many moments where I felt so alone, and then I remember I would talk to someone and I'd be like, I just realized I'm never going to meet everyone who loves me. Like, I'm going to keep meeting new people. And they were like, yeah. But I was like, no.
You don't
Listen,
get it.
I'm like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, this is, like, a huge deal. Like, it, like, sat on me so much, which I think is so ironic that you, like, said it so word for word. Because I've literally had this conversation with someone. And they're like, yeah, like, you'll meet new people. And I'm like, but you will never understand the abundance of people that will come into your life. Because I think anyone who has been through struggles with mental health, it feels so lonely, and it feels like that's that.
It feels so permanent.
It feels like that's the end. Like, that's the period. Like, it feels like that's the period. You know? Like,
it feels like that's the end of the book, not like the end of the chapter. Like,
no,
it's just like,
it really does. No matter what stage of life you're in, like, sometimes you will have those moments and it feels like that's the end of that book.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary feeling. And it's valid to anyone who is even feeling that right now. You're very valid in that feeling. But again, like what Hailey was saying, there's so much truth to it. Because you're literally on the cusp of so many people that will love you. And something that I've learned too, kind of segue before you go into your next one, something I've learned is, like, I was talking to my friend Bella about this a couple episodes ago.
Yes.
And whenever you become your most genuine self, like whenever you are your most confident, and sometimes that means removing yourself from almost everyone in your life. Like, sometimes that's what that means, and that's really hard. But whenever you do that, people will become attracted to you. Like, your people will attract to you. And I feel like, I mean, I can't speak for you, but even just kind of watching from the outside, seeing, you know, you've always been like one of my closest friends, like older sister, you know, but I've always been so close to your whole family, and seeing you kind of turn into this person that's like, you don't, like, you're kind of like, screw it, like, if you want me, you want me, and if you don't, you don't, you know?
That has taken a very long time and a lot of Angela time. But yes. But yes, it has taken a while, but yeah.
It takes a hot minute.
It's a journey. I'm never going to stop learning, and I'm never going to stop growing, and those are two powerful things to remember, that and that it's so hard to, like, come to grips with, because it's like, oh no, but, you know, so and so, they said blah blah blah. Okay, but are they showing up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like it. I had to come to a point where I'm like, I mean, again, Angela can attest to this, but it's like I was almost like operating off of just like pure ideas, and like, I don't want to say delusion, but like, you know, I was just operating, you know, purely off ideas of like, oh, well, you know, just reading so heavily into things that you're like, this is not reality. Like,
you're like, hold up.
Yeah. Like, you, like, there has to, and that was my point. That was my point where I was like, okay, you know, like, if they want to be friends with me, if they want to be in a relationship with me, if they want to, you know, on down the list, they will.
They'll choose to do so.
And, yeah, it's an intentional choice. And same thing goes for me. If I want to, you know, do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to. And so, yeah.
Well, I feel like that kind of falls into, too, like, love, whether that be, like, platonic or not. It's a choice. It really is. Like, let
Amen. Yeah.
It really is. Like,
yeah.
You meet those people and, like, you'll get pissed off at them. Like, you will.
100%.
But if you find those people that'll push through it with you, like, that's an intentional choice that they have to make just as much. And that's taken a long time to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Because being someone who wants to, like, please and get validation and pour into so many other people. I was literally writing in my journal the other day. I was like, I feel like I'm pouring and pouring into other people, and I am running on empty. Like, that's what it feels like. And I'm like, I love these people. But right now, I need to be with the people that are choosing me.
Yes. I think, like, love is a feeling, but love is also a choice. And so, like, when you said that, oh, man, that's just, like, there ain't nothing truer than that. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. Like, and it's, I think I was just overcomplicating it. What I was trying to say earlier was, with my ideas and delusion, is that I was overcomplicating it. And
yeah,
it's that
that makes total sense.
They're going to choose to love you or they don't. And it's a hard truth, but you're right. It's a choice.
Yeah.
100%.
For sure. Well, do you have...
Yeah, I have one more if you want me. Yeah. Sorry, my little face ID here. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this one's called But Even When You're Broken. But even when you're broken, I hope you remember that you're allowed to feel this way. You're allowed to cry so hard that you feel like you've been crying for years. You're allowed to do nothing for a week or more. You're allowed to be silent. You're allowed to be loud. You're allowed to be broken. You're allowed to heal. You're allowed to heal in the way that you need. I pray that comparison may cease, because healing isn't linear, friend. And I hope that even when you feel this way, that you remember that healing looks different for everyone. Because even when you're broken, you're allowed to heal.
It's so good.
Thank you.
It's so good.
I'm
like, yes. I remember reading it that day, and I was like... these
the tears are about to
I was like, these are
hitting.
hitting. No, yeah. I guess I know a lot of these are very similar situations that, gave you the inspiration. But in your words, like, what's the story behind that one?
I think the story behind this one ends up being a little bit different, which is kind of unexpected. But with this one, I really think I was just going through a lot of personal guilt with how I dealt with grief, depression, anxiety, those kinds of things. And so this really was a mantra for myself, almost like self-affirmations of looking in the mirror, like, you're allowed to heal. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to be loud. You're allowed to be silent. Healing isn't linear. Just going down the list of, like, you're allowed to heal in the way that you need, and it doesn't have to look like someone else's, because that's someone else. You don't have to, snap into this version of someone else. Like, you're allowed to be yourself, and you're allowed to go through this and walk through this, and, eventually you're going to come out on the other side. But I was just going through so much comparison and guilt and feeling so shameful that, I'm still dealing with this, and I can't believe this. It's been so long, and why am I still, going through this, and why am I still, just not over it, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of an affirmation for myself of, like, girl, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to just, snap out of it just because someone else does, or because that's how someone else heals. And, some people heal by going to the gym. Some people heal by writing. Some people heal by listening to music, going on walks, journaling, doing art, playing sports, whatever it may be. I certainly don't heal by going to the gym, but other people, you go. I'm gonna sure try, but I am not as good as other people. So, it's just one of those things where it's like, comparing those tangible hobbies and also comparing the kind of emotional status of other people to my emotional status. We were talking about in class today, specifically with social media, you're looking at someone's highlight reel and you're comparing it to your, like, worst nightmare, or you're comparing it to, this terrible, like, grief-filled situation that you're going through. Right. And you're sitting there being like, look at them, she's going to Europe again, like, she said, oh gosh, just wish I was like her, and she's smiling, and her outfits are always cool, and this is my second day being in basketball shorts to my knees, and I'm wearing the same t-shirt again, you know what I mean? So it's just like, you kind of have to, this poem was just kind of my way of dealing with that and walking through that, and almost telling myself, like, girl, it's okay.
Yeah. I feel like this one was specifically for yourself.
Yeah.
100%. You're like, yeah, it is.
Every day.
Yeah. No, there's definitely so many moments. Listen, let me just say, for anyone who is going through it right now, and it might be something that happened months ago, like whether that be So, for example, let's just put out like a breakup. Like maybe that's something that happened months ago, maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer than that. If you're still grieving from that, that's okay.
What?
You do not need to get over it right now.
Like, I felt like, I was like, it happened, you know, like, I would just judge it by like, okay, well, it was only this long and it's been X amount of months, so you should be over it. And that's with any situation, not even like relationships, just in general. Like, I would like, I would be like, okay, well, it was like scientific. Here's the length of time, and this is, you know, how long it's been since then equals I should be over it. Wrong. Like, I don't.
Plot twist.
Yeah, literally wrong. Like, that makes it go on longer. Like, truly. And healing isn't linear is like the simplest I can put it. Like, you're not always going to be like this going up from healing. It's going to be, you know what? Sometimes you might be like, back down, up a little bit, really down, up a little, flat line, you know, go up, you know, it's going to be all, you know, different, and it's not just going to be a straight line. And so, yeah, you don't have to be over it, and whoever is telling you that you have to be over it probably isn't over something themselves. Right. I don't know, you know, like, it's just like, I mean, me personally, I can't fathom being over something. You're like, so bad. Like, me personally, I'm like, maybe they are over it and they're just that cool.
They're just moving on.
But yeah, like, I mean, for me, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's okay if you're still grieving and you're still going through that. You know, you don't need to feel guilt for that. You don't need to feel shameful. Yeah.
I think I definitely had moments where, like, if I've had people leave, I would, like, got better. Like, I felt like I was doing really good. I was like, I was like, ooh, yes, telling Angela. I was like, Angela, like, I'm doing good. Like, I was like, low-key girl bossed my way through this. And she's like, yes. And then the next week, or even like 2 months later, I'm like, hey, so like,
she was in fact not over it. Yeah.
I was like, hey, so like, I cried about it last night. And she was like, oh, okay. That's all right. She was like, you've like, been I'm like, wait, what do you mean? She's like, it's okay to still feel it. She was like, that might have been something that you've still had pent up for a while. And like, can we normalize, like, it's okay to still feel through it? And it might not even be a relationship. Even me leaving my old school, like, I felt so much guilt for that. Yeah. And just like wanting to be there for the people around me, and I felt bad, and I just wanted to be my best for everyone, and I felt so bad about it. And it took a really, like, I acted like I was fine, and that prolonged it.
Yes. I think that's, like, my number one piece of advice is, like, I will, like, get in my head, like, and I will get, like, kind of, what's the word? Not, like, selfish, but, like, braggy. Almost to myself. Yes. And I'm like, girl, you didn't think you could do it, but here you are. You're in the gym. That never happens. You know, like, you're, you know, you have, like, I'll have, like, you know, a good couple days or whatever. And I'm like, you are so over that. Don't even think about it anymore. You know, look at you and all this you're doing. And it's like, okay, but, you know, deep down, you just kind of know.
You just know.
You just know.
And Angela's like, yeah, you've been holding that in for a while. She's like, you got really good really quick. I was like,
I have done that with her many a time.
So I'm not, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And I still have moments, even just looking back. I've had so many moments, even this summer, that I'll have, like, you just have a rough day, you know? Yeah. Literally, the other day, crying all day. All day. Couldn't tell you.
Amen.
Yeah. I don't like to, I like to tell people, I'm like, I'm not a crier, but turns out I am now. Welcome to senior year.
That's about when it hits.
But yeah, I've had moments and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I have an entire organization where I literally talk about, like, how to get through this. I literally have a podcast where I'm, like, asking other people's opinions on how they get through it. Like, what you doing, Caitlin? And then I'm like, it's okay. Because it's not linear.
And the worst thing you can do is, like, put pressure on yourself to, like, be at a certain point, you know, at a certain amount of time. And that will beat you up, like you're saying, almost more than whatever it was that happened will.
Yep.
Because it's just you and yourself. Like, you're just...
And you can be yourself's worst enemy.
You can. And so when you're putting that pressure on yourself so intensely without really even realizing it, it just makes it worse. It really does. And it took me a long time to, like, just be comfortable with, like, feeling emotions.
Yeah.
I have not always been like that, so.
Yeah. I feel like it's so important to find, like, to kind of transition a little, it's so important to find the community in that, too. We were talking the other day at your family's house, and just kind of going off about, like, the importance of being there for another person. Specifically, like, talking from a female perspective, like, being a girl's girl. Like, being there for the people around you. And I value so much someone who will be there for you, no questions asked.
Yeah. It's a huge thing. And when you find someone like that, you know, gotta keep them. For sure. Because
they're the people that chose. They chose to love intentionally that day.
It was a choice for them. Absolutely. 100%. And, I mean, the simplest way you can put it is just, you know, be as good of a person as you can be and show as much love as you can, because that's what we're called to do. And, you know, there's enough conflict going on in the world. You don't, you know, I know, at least for me. And, you know, I think I speak for everyone when I say, like, you know, I will never get mad at someone being there for me. You know, that is something I will never be upset about. You know, if you're like, hey girl, just reaching out, how are you, whatever, I'm like, oh, I love you so much. You know,
bless you.
Like, yes, like, you know, it is such an important thing to, you know, as much as you can, and be intentional about, you know, being there for other people and finding that community for yourself. Furthermore. Because, like you were saying earlier, like, I feel like I'm just pouring, you know, so much into people, and I'm just, you know, what do I do? And it's like, you got to find the people that pour into you so that you can pour into other people, so they can pour into other people, and then just keeps going.
Just keep, like, overflowing.
Yeah.
Like, literally just yeah, really. It really is, because I was like, I literally feel like I'm running on empty.
No.
And I kind of came to this realization. I was like, I need to be... Not the, like, putting the pressure of, like, I need to be this in this moment. Yeah. But I need to focus on refilling myself in an intentional way of where it pours out onto other people without the cost of my own joy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really hard thing. That's a really hard thing to do sometimes.
It's very hard. I think, you know, it's just like I was saying, it's just one of those little like, kind of a trickle-down effect of... You know, someone's going to pour into you. They're also pouring into themselves, and you've got to do the same thing.
Yeah. So it's not selfish to take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, like we were saying, it just kind of goes back to what we started talking about at the very beginning, which was just finding the things that bring you joy. You have to eventually find time to recharge yourself. And I'm learning that there is a difference between sleeping and doing things that you enjoy. And, you know, because I'm someone who I'm like, I will just take a nap. Guys, don't even worry.
Mom's staring at me because she knows this is me.
Queen Cherry. Listen, here's the thing. Like, I just was like, I'll just take a nap. Like, that will recharge me, right? But there... Who was going to tell me that you can, you know, you can be well rested and you can also do things that recharge you? It's not the same thing. I think for me,
it's so hard.
She's like, like, I'm learning that, like, just now. Like, I'm learning that right now, because I used to just sleep all the time and, like, never do things that I loved. And call it like, oh, I'm like recharging, or I'm like, I'm resting right now, which you are resting and you are recharging. But, you know, for me, it was like, okay, but you also have to do things that genuinely, like, fill your heart up too, not just, like, help your brain go to sleep, you know? And so for me, I'm like, well, I do love taking naps. You can ask literally anyone. I will, if there is 20 minutes, I'm asleep. But
it's so real on so many levels. It's not even.
Yeah. Like, I will sleep anywhere, anytime, any place.
And I'm just like, I'm taking care of myself.
Exactly. Like, and it's good to do that. But for me, I'm like, there is a balance between, like, okay, when it comes to, like, filling yourself up, you also have to realize that, you know, fun hobbies or hanging out with friends, or maybe just, you know, introverts out there staring at a wall for, like, a good hour. Or just, laying down and looking up at the wall, you know? Like, sometimes you do just have to, like, zone out. And that is how you're going to recharge the best. Some people, it's hanging out with other people. But, yeah, that's, you know, tangible ways to kind of fill yourself up is just do things that you love. Figure out what you love to do.
Yeah. Well, kind of full circle. Because it really does go back to fill your cup. Because there's tangible things that you can do. Yeah. That you can find. It's not like, if you do this, you'll feel happy healed. Now. But
hashtag healed.
Like, that's not the truth, and I won't ever say that.
No.
I won't ever be on Fill Your Cup. And like, if you do these connection, getting active, and finding the things that bring you purpose, like, you're healed now. I'm sorry, you won't be, but you will find things that tangibly bring you joy, because you can find those tangible things. You can find those people, the actions, that do that for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I guess to kind of like wrap it up, what I wanted to ask you specifically this question, and it might be kind of a hard one to figure out for a second, but what is your advice on how to step out and do your own thing, even when it's scary to do sometimes?
Oh, man. I mean, I feel like I'm just doing that right now. Like, I switched colleges halfway through. To this day, I think I know maybe 2 people on campus. Actually 3, if you count my roommate. But, like, from class and that kind of thing, I know, like, 2 or 3 people. Man, I would really just say you're just going to have to do it afraid. Like, at the end of the day, as, like, hard as that is, and again, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, no one's going to do it but you. Sometimes you don't have anybody to push you to do that. Sometimes when you're in college, or when you're on your own, or whenever, you're not going to, and even if you're not, sometimes you're not going to have someone to wake you up in the morning and be like, it's going to be a good day. You're going to get so much done. You're going to do awesome at work. You're going to whatever. Like, sometimes you just have to be like, I have to be my own hype man. I have to be my own hype woman, hype person, and truly just be like, okay. And sometimes the motivation is not there, and I don't get it done. Truly. And I think that's been something that I've also been learning.
That's valid too.
Yes, that's something that I've also been learning. But I think that at the end of the day, it really is just, you got to just kind of make a plan, and you either go through with it or you don't. And if you do, it's okay, you know, try it out, do the new thing, you know, whatever that thing may be. And if you don't like it, you can always find something else.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that was powerful for me, was to not view every single kind of change or like new activity or new thing as permanent. Because I think that for me, it makes it like so much scarier.
Yes.
Because I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to this new school, but what if I don't like it? Then go to a different one. Like, for me, it was literally like, what?
It's hard to tell yourself that it's not permanent.
Yes, it's so hard. It's so hard. But for me, I have just been like, okay, you can change your mind. I think that's been one of the biggest things for me my whole life is you can change your mind. You can become better educated. You can learn. You can grow as a human. You're never going to stop doing any of that. And it's okay to change your mind. You know, if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. But if you do like it, awesome. Because look at this new thing that you're doing.
Right.
You know, look at how much growth it's fostering. Look at how amazing you're doing. You know, whatever it may be. Look at how, you know, impactful this has been. And, you know, you never would have known if you wouldn't have just done it afraid.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Good job, Hailey.
Thanks.
Nice job. Well, that's kind of wraps it up. But to keep up with Hailey, I guess, like, tell your Instagram.
Oh,
you
yes. Let me see.
She's like, what is it?
I know for sure, like, okay, so
Hailey's
I have
like
2 different ones.
Let me just toot her horn for a second. She's actually a model, too. So,
oh, no.
It's quality content.
If you want to book me, you can book me. Website is in my bio. Shameless plug. But my writing account is Hailey X Grace Extras. So that's my little writing account. I'm sure Caitlin will tag it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then my main is just Hailey X Grace X. So yeah, if you want to keep up with me, you know, do it. Shoot me a DM. I'm always down to make a new friend. I'm always down to let other people know how loved they are.
She's like, if anyone on the UCO campus wants to get coffee.
Literally, I'm like, please.
But
it'll be good.
You're doing great, yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you have a great day.
Yeah.
And